So, our topic that we're going to start and explore and dive into is one of the attributes of the Dharma. And this one is stated as the Dharma is realized by the wise, each for oneself.
And that's a big feature of reflective meditation, that we value the Dharma being realized for yourself, for ourself, rather than handed down from the authority or authorities. And we're really trying to find, it's not the middle way. Now, it's not like there's like a middle way, like here is the middle way. The middle way is a fluctuating thing, but something in the middle between an authority teaching with full power. In other words, the Dharma teacher up often elevated actually in, on a stage or something, and a peer group of people that really believe and have the ideal that they could really share power equally all the time.
Right. And we would consider both of those extremes. Like one teacher knows everything, or the group knows everything. Like just this kind of two ends of a spectrum. And we're looking at teaching somewhere in the middle of that. And sometimes we have to provide more leadership and more teaching, and other times we have to be more peer-like and friends and equal, which we feel often in our groups. That's something that's developed. But what's kind of new is that we haven't really explored what comes from that by doing this together. It's kind of a new way for a community, a Sangha, to operate.
And not only is it a new way, but we've been sort of moving the needle a little bit since we had that really painful situation, what, 7, 8 years ago. It's been a while now with our former teacher. We've really, it's like that was a big wake-up call, like, oh, leaders. I mean, there's been so much of this in the Buddhist community, so much for so long, where, the leaders have full power and they abuse it in some way. There's many variations on that theme, but so we've been really moving more towards creating situations where you're functioning more as peer groups. But it's a grand experiment.
It is a grand experiment, and one of the ways we experimented with this attribute, with the stating of the Dharma is realized by the wise, each for oneself, is to become your own teacher. I mean, this has become a kind of tenet of our practice, is that we're helping each of us to become our own teacher. And that can be confusing at times. It's not so linearly direct of you do this to become your own teacher. It's really putting you back on the conditions of your own life, your own preferences, what you're drawn to sort through that and learn from that to become your own teacher.
And it's not like you become your own teacher and that's that
Yeah.
end of path. No, it's that then at certain points you need to reach out to other people, other resources, come to the daily online, learn from the Dharma talks, learn from one another. So you need teachers, but in perhaps different ways at different times under different conditions.
In our book, Nellie and I have a conversation, and we wrote out the book as a conversation between us. And neither of our voices were completely apparent as this is Linda or this is Nellie, except for certain sections of the book, you could really tell. But there was a way that we are also bringing our voices together, and the wisdom that comes from blending each other's knowledge. And it's that overlap is much more fuzzy. It's not so clear who owns certain wisdom or who's wise and not wise. Like that's kind of not a paradigm that we fall into. But with the book, one of the things that has come to our attention this came from a recent visioning meeting that we had, is that it's not so easy to understand that conversation, to kind of just jump right in, and that we need a little bit of a bridge to invite people into this newer experiment, this paradigm. And we're going to have some conversations and hopefully put them up on YouTube to be more invitational, to bring people into the book, into the conversation about becoming your own teacher and how to do that and how to use the book to do that.
Again, it can be confusing, disorienting, not something you can kind of, just sink your teeth into right away. That's a funny expression for this, but probably a better metaphor. But at any rate, it can be confusing, and the book, I think, can be confusing also.
Yeah, yeah. One more thing before you go on to your point, Nellie. I just one of the language phrases that we've used, and we used this in the advertisement for the retreat, is that we create a holding environment. And I think as teachers, that has been more of our direction of creating a holding environment for people to go into their own experience and have relative safety to do that, to create a container that can hold all the things that go through our minds and bodies. And I feel like I just wanted to talk about that form of teaching as creating a holding environment. It's a little more invisible. It's not so neon lights.
And we actually have thought about and continue to think about how to really create a friendly holding environment, because that's really, that's where our teaching of metta comes in, I think, is in the kind of holding environment we create. And again, that's not a one and done. We keep revisiting that and fully refining that. Yeah. So yesterday I taught here in Portland at a meditation group, Pacific Northwest Meditation, and it was a lovely group, and it was a Vipassana group, and at the end, as is, I think, in my experience, commonly done in Vipassana events, the organizer, the woman who invited me to teach, gave a short but lovely little Dana talk at the end of the 2 hours together, and people gave generously, and it meant a lot to me, actually. But then it made me think, like, oh, have we been neglectful? We don't really talk about Dana that often. We don't talk, we sometimes, it's on the screen share, but here at this Daily Online, but we don't talk about it. We don't talk about how that too is a grand experiment in a capitalist society, to say that you are really consider what you want to give rather than pay the cost, so have we been neglectful of our needs? That's just a question I was left with.
Yeah. Generosity is such an important part of the path, and it is developed through practice. So most of us have seen generosity grow and flourish, and talking about it in the grand experiment, it's going to be growing a little differently this way. Some of our groups don't give Dana because there's no teacher there. They're more of an affinity group. So where does the Dana go? What does Dana mean? So we are bringing that spirit into kind of a new system that we're creating.
And we need money to survive. For reflective meditation to go on, we need money. So how do we not be neglectful of that? It's on my mind.
Yeah. So the other question is, do we need teachers to survive? So where do the teachers fit in this model? How much support do you need to find your own path? And who do you call when you need support? Who's there for you? How are you using your spiritual friends in this orientation?
All right, good ending point for this talk.
And I will remember to stop the recording. Yes, I think I can find it.